Arena on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Pardon my lazo, but lazo, isn't it? But the American economy needs big energy to power it in the digital world of the 21st century. And Chevron CEO Mike Wirth is one of those evil fossil fuel company CEOs who's actually on the job. He sat down with Fox News to talk about building, quote unquote, behind the meter energy capacity, which he credited Donald Trump for advancing. Take a listen.
Well, the demand for power in this country is going to go up as these data centers are built out. Our grid hasn't been invested in for many years. And further investments that would run the power through the grid to support the data centers are going to be increasingly challenged. We've got more wind and solar, which means more intermittency on the grid. The grid's less stable than it once was. What we're looking to do is build power generation that's off the grid. So it's called behind the meter. It would be dedicated to these data centers. It would not go into the rate base, so it would not raise people's electricity bills. And we're working with the biggest tech companies in the world to try to support their desires to grow, fund that with abundant and affordable American natural gas, and do it in a way that doesn't flow through to consumers.
I imagine President Trump would like that solution if it's not going to make the ratepayers, the households, pay for the energy that is going to benefit all the tech companies.
In fact, this was the president's idea. He's talked about this for quite some time. I think it's brilliant, and we're seeing the tech companies really interested in it.
By the way, it's Lato, big energy. That was my cultural reference. I did a Lizzo, Lato, portmanteau, and saying Lazo. You'll excuse me. For more on the energy piece of the discussion, though, pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Dan.
It's sort of interesting. We were having this discussion with an AEI policy analyst yesterday about sort of this energy independence is the wrong term. We want market-based energy, that meets the moment, and the way to meet the moment with energy production is to let markets drive it. And here seems to be an innovative way to address the capacity we'll need without having to have regular residential consumers bear the brunt of the cost.
Yeah, so this is a big issue that very few Americans are paying attention to. I bet most Americans don't. I bet if you just walk down the street and ask the average person, say in the Chicago area, where do you get your electric power from? Most would go, what are you talking about? It comes right out of the electric socket. That's where it comes from.
Exactly. Behind my wall.
So we take for granted, where it comes from. And most of our electric power across the country comes from natural gas and coal. Natural gas and coal, those are fossil fuels. We still get the vast majority of our electric power from them. And Biden wanted to just shut those down. Have you heard of this idea called net zero, Dan? This crazy idea the left had that we're not going to use any fossil fuels?
Yeah, for like the last 20 years or so, yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, these idiots are like, okay, we're not going to use any oil, gas, and coal, and we're going to get all our power from windmills. Oh, gee, that sounds like a great, we're going to go back to the 18th century and get our power from sundials and windmills. So we have to take this seriously, because when you think about risks and dangers to the American economy and to our security, I think the thing that keeps me up at night is the unreliability of our grid system.
Well, you just heard Wirth talk about, because of the non-market emphasis on renewables, we have a reliability problem.
No doubt about it. It's really dangerous. I mean, look, if you were Dr. Evil and you wanted to destroy the American economy or disable it, the way you would do it is take out our electric grid system and take out our ability to use the internet and use heat our homes and our factories and run our factories, et cetera. So this should be a very high priority for the country. And this idea, again, it's so crazy. The Biden people were active in shutting down our energy and pretending that we were going to be able to, do this all with windmills. And so the good news is Trump is hyper serious about this. We've got a great energy secretary who believes in using all of the above. By the way, we should also be building nuclear power plants. We have an item in our hotline this morning that we just sent out showing that, right now China is building 20 nuclear power plants. We have 1 or 2 in construction, 1 or 2. We have these new small nuclear reactors that can be used that are much, much safer than the big, huge nuclear reactors we used to build. And those can, supply enough energy for, a medium-sized city or something like that. So my point is, as we move into the new era of artificial intelligence, robotics, they're going to use 3 times our energy demand over the next 25 years. It could go up triple. And yet we're not prepared for that at all, especially when you have the left out there trying to dismantle our energy supply. But now the good news is oil and gas production was just announced last week in the United States are at an all-time high right now. Thank you, Donald Trump. Drill, baby, drill is working. But we have to use oil, gas, coal, nuclear power, whatever we got to make sure that we're ready for this new era. And if you have a disruption in the grid system, it will do great damage to our economy.
Yeah, I go back to Holman Jenkins, Wall Street Journal, who's I think encapsulated nicely. If you went back and say you go back 30 years and say, how much is the U.S. willing to spend on climate change to have no effect on climate change? People would say, right. Well, of course, nothing. Spend all that, spend something to have no effect. Well, it turns out we spent trillions of dollars to accomplish just that, to have no effect.
Yeah, we did. You're exactly right. I mean, I don't know if it's trillions, but certainly hundreds and hundreds of billions. And, let's just take the 4 years that Biden was president. So he came in, you all remember the first thing he did was say no to the Keystone XL pipeline. I don't understand why they're against natural gas, by the way. Natural gas is a clean burning fuel. It's everything you want in a fuel. And so they started dismantling our energy. And then they said, no, we're going to have all this subsidies. I think they spent about $300 billion on wind and solar power. Now, here's the amazing statistic. When Biden came in to office, we got 81% of our energy in the United States, including our transportation fuels from fossil fuels. Do you know what it was at the end of the Biden presidency?
80.5%.
79.5%. So, I mean, we barely moved the needle at all after spending $300 billion. And by the way, a lot of those windmills and solar farms are going out of business now because they don't have the federal tit to suck on anymore because we're taking away a lot of those subsidies. So
I think we say
let's
teat.
just use what
I think we say teat on these airwaves. Gee whiz, good grief.
But anyway, this is the reality. So we have to be building. Why aren't we building nuclear power plants in this country? I mean, why are we so stupid? China's building 20 of them. We're building 0.
I want to get to another matter. This I saw in your Unleash Prosperity newsletter, and I was taken aback. Actually, was there some sort of lag effect between Trump's early buyout and Doge or something that I missed? The estimated reduction in the federal workforce by the end of this year will be 300,000, which is a 12% reduction in force. I mean. First of all, the fact that 300,000 is only 12% highlights the problem. But I mean, that's what the early buyout stuff we were talking about 1-2%. What happened? They offered early buyout for federal workers. They also fired a lot of federal workers. And, when you shut down government agencies, you don't need those people. And by the way, I have a lot of friends who took, because I live in the swamp, as you know. Yeah. So I have friends who took it. It was a pretty sweet deal they got. But we've had big reductions in force. And what I'm saying is that we are, believe it or not, folks, I know most won't believe it, we are starting to drain the swamp.
We're getting rid of all of these federal government employees that we don't need anymore at the State Department. At all these federal Department of Energy is only half full of people now. I mean, let's just sell the building, get rid of it.
So no, but I mean that's a material impact on the size of the workforce.
Yes.
That's pretty encouraging. I mean, not that I want people to lose their jobs, but I mean,
No.
we all recognize that 2.5 million people working for the federal government is a federal government that's just too big.
I would hope everyone would.
Yeah, right.
That.
Well,
and by the way, these people, I mean, they get 30% more than an equally skilled private sector worker. And the thing is, when Biden kept talking about stimulating the economy, what he meant was adding more government workers. But the problem is, if you don't have private sector workers paying their salary, then you can't have government workers. In other words, it takes 4 private sector worker to pay the taxes to pay for that one government worker. So government workers are not additive to the economy. They subtract from the economy.
Something else, though, too. I hadn't seen an updated data on this in a long time. I remember Cato Institute did a review of this, 10, 15 years ago. That you were doing the combined, all the state level welfare benefits, and then what that translated to into basically.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was
that you?
My study I did about 20. Yeah.
This was a long.
How much can you get if you get all the benefits, if you get all the the food stamps and the health care and the AFDC and all that stuff? You're right. You could make and now what the new studies show are that you in many states you can get over $30,000 of benefits, and in some states, like I think the number one, I think Massachusetts, where it's like $42,000 of free things. I mean, so Illinois is sort of in the center there at just over $30,000, but. And then you're such cheapskates.
Yeah, we are. We need to grow our welfare state here. That's no question. But Minnesota, Massachusetts, they're the two worst in reverse order. Massachusetts the worst, Minnesota second worst. Both north of $45,000 in total market value of benefits to not work.
And the only thing you have to do to get that money is not work. As long as you're not working, if you get a job, then they're going to take the benefits. So that's one of the big problems with welfare is a lot of people, if they took a $50,000 job, they'd actually be, almost gaining no income, from it because they lose all the benefits. So that's why welfare is so insidious. We're holding people out of the workforce because we've made it so generous to get all the free stuff. And then, of course, when we try to say stuff like, hey, we've got an idea, why don't we say that if you're able-bodied, if you're not disabled and you're able to work and you're 28 years old, hey, before we're going to give you any of these benefits, you have to go out and get a job. Oh, my God, those terrible, heartless, cruel Republicans.
Yeah.
How dare they require people to work for benefits?
Right, and this is just all the state-level benefits. It doesn't layer in the federal benefits.
Well, some of it does include
federally
benefits,
supported benets that are administered at the state level. Yes,
yeah.
But I mean,
and by the way, what the states do then is they in other words, they try to sign up people for these programs because the more people that they sign up, the more money
they get for the feds.
They get.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Yeah.
Well, and it's not only that, like comparing it, like, oh well, nobody wants to make $30,000 a year, whatever. But the point is to say you're telling them until you can get something that makes $30,000 don't work, and it's a moral hazard rather than getting in the workforce maybe at 25, especially when you're young, as you said, and then by the time you're in the workforce for 5, 7, 10 years, you're making well north of all that because you've worked hard and you moved up. I mean that's how it works. It's not static.
There's two other things that are going on here. Number one, that $35,000, $40,000 you get, that's tax free. Right?
Yes, right. Yes, good point.
The second point to make is that a lot of these people who are getting these benefits, they are working actually, and they're just not reporting the income. And so that's one of the reasons a job requirement is so important, because if you force somebody to work, they can't be in two places at one time. They can't be in the job that they were not reporting to the government and the one that that they're put in officially. So you get rid of so much of the fraud. I would say at least a third of the money that goes to these programs is fraud. Either people ineligible or they're working and not reporting their income. So, if you actually have a work requirement, you dramatically reduce the amount of fraud.
Well, speaking of that, then is Russ Vought, is he the one that's still manning the helm of Doge? And maybe he should do a study about just trying to put a number on that fraud that you're describing.
Yeah, I don't. I'm good friends with Russ, and he's done an amazing job. I kind of don't know what's happened with Doge. It's kind of been out of the news lately. They came in as a whirlwind of activity, and I kind of don't know the status of it because there was a revolt against Doge.
Well, I know, but somebody. I mean, nobody thought this was going to be a 6-month job to clean out the Augian stables here. So tell Russ to get somebody in charge of Doge and report back.
Well, one of the most important things, Dan, that Trump has done, among a lot of really amazing things Trump has done in 6 or 7 months, is maybe one of the best things he did was get rid of all the foreign aid money, because that foreign aid money never helped any poor person anywhere. It was we created a massive foreign aid industrial complex of people living in glitzy places, telling us how much they cared about poor people. That money never did anything to provide development to these countries. I mean, show me any foreign aid success story over the last 40 years after spending hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, Dan. Have a good one. Take care.
You too. And Steve, join us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As